This chapter really got me. Like, legitimately, it got me heavy because I had a whole theory laid out, like sprawled and ready to kind of like get my idea of how this arc was gonna go. And it was completely ripped in half by this one chapter. This one chapter decided to completely destroy my entire like idea of how this arc of the hero is going to further progress. Now, I mentioned before that Hiroshima has made, he's taken the idea of one of the main cast members having a family member who's an enemy multiple times, and he's taken it in different directions each time. With Haru, it was a misunderstanding. With Natsu, it was more of a very one-sided relationship. Zeref saw him, as a brother, but Natsu just saw him as an enemy. Whereas Urza and Irene, it was more of like Urza's like, I see you as an enemy, but I respect you in many ways, and Irene was like, I hate you, but obviously she didn't really. With Silver and Gray, Silver was trying to trick Gray into being the one to finish him off, so he wanted to die by the hands of his son. And with like Lucy and Jude, it was like, a warning. It was a threat, showing like conviction and heart. With Tamura, I think it's very like a much of a different situation in a lot of ways, because like in the different scenarios, it was all about the characters, one way between them and whoever their opposing person in that relationship was, whether it's mother and daughter or father and son, brother and brother. But with Tamora, in this case, she has her mother, and it's not like, Urza and her mom, because Urza never knew her mom. She didn't know anything about her. She only really knew her as a threat to the guild. With Mora knew her mom fairly well in a couple of, like, years of age, enough that clearly she has memories of her. Somewhere like Gray when he had, when his father died. And she has her teacher, who clearly she developed a very strong affection for. That's her mentor. That's who she looks up to. And in this scenario, even though Kurenai is a bad character for sure, she currently has no reason for Homura to be aggressive toward her, to have any beef with her. Because, like, as it is right now, as far as we know, like, when they meet up, maybe she'll want to be with her mom again. Maybe, even though that Kurenai is clearly a bad person, maybe the one person that she'll give, like, a pass to is her own daughter. But I had my whole theory. My whole theory was that Homura was going to not be able to choose between Valkyrie and Kurenai and Valkyrie were going to be like in the middle of a fight and like die in the process, near the end of the arc. But that wasn't the case. And I laid a lot of this out because in chapter 50, when they first get to the Sun Jewel, you see Paul like turn and talk to what looks to be a damaged yet smiling version of Valkyrie. And we finally figure what out happened in this chapter, because it takes place 5 years in the past when Valkyrie first showed up onto the planet, and she's talking to Kurenai about, what the case was, and she just talks about how, like, she's kind of, like, in a bad scenario because she deals all this money to the Baron of that planet, this dude, Morden, and she pretty much has to pay off the debt. She's just a slave working off what she can, and, he's in a really terrible spot, or she's in a really terrible spot, but Valkyrie's, this is where she met Paul. Paul is like, he has his ether where he can steal stuff, move them like a couple inches over. He can pull the collars off their necks and completely like slowly save one by one the people of the Sun Jewel that are in this indentured servitude. But she doesn't want to because obviously she has a huge debt going on, and it's unfortunate for her because she's not willing to take the risk because she doesn't want anything bad to happen to Aura. But from that, they're talking about how like the rare metals they can get, and the ones that can't be transferred, and they're talking about like tiers of planets or Raku Rima. I'm wondering if that's going to be relevant later in the series. Like maybe that's going to be a special thing that it kind of get brought up multiple times. But she brings up her huge debts in the casinos. She was trying to high risk, high reward, high risk led to high consequences, and she's just in this extremely crushing debt that she now fears trying to escape over, because even though she has the potential, the thing is like one person, like I get like obviously you're scared, but like you go with Valkyrie, she can get you to Homura, and you guys could just go out somewhere in space. You're one person. They're not like, are they going to send their whole planet at you? I mean, you could probably get a bounty, but you got Valkyrie there, and you could probably learn how to fight. I don't know. But she's like talking about how she needs to return to Homura. She needs to be with her. She needs to help her in what she's doing, and that she's not going to leave until she can take her with her. And then it's 2 years later. She's just kind of still hanging out, trying to figure out what's going on. And it turns out her and I ended up marrying the Baron Morden, and she then murdered him, and now he's pretty much taken over the planet, taken over everything she's got. She's just drunk on power and wealth at this point. And when it kind of just is them trying to figure out what to do, the whole like mining area just becomes like a huge mess. You have all the stone monsters just running all over the place, wreaking havoc, just destroying and killing anybody that gets in their way. And Valkyrie decides, she's taken upon herself to fight all of these things. And she's not fighting the black mine, but black stone, big black monster fella. But she's not fighting that one. She's just fighting a huge mass of all these other ones. And, she's like running through them shot by shot. But obviously, numbers are a little bit too much for her. And she ends up like going to her like what I assume would be her battle mode. She ends up getting like this sick, like pretty much mechanical Valkyrie like style, and she has like her swords everywhere. She uses this she calls it Valkyrie weapon system, and she has like the attack Odin strike, which is kind of like Urza's like Henry armor when she uses Blumenblad. Any of her multi sword wardens just does a huge entire like spray of ether blades and just causes like huge explosions. And it's like covering up like multiple streets, going down, slashing all these enemies. Meanwhile, Kurenai's just like in glee over like how much money she's like suddenly making, because instead of like the normal activities, she's having this person just go on a big rampage trying to take down all of these creatures who are a threat to everybody. Poor gal, because she's just trying to keep fighting. She gets her arm ripped off, and she's able to kill as many as she can, fight as many as she can off, but she just ends up falling to one knee. And in that last moment, she just realizes that she never said that she loved Homura back after all the times that she talked about how much she loved her teacher. And that's when we get back to the current timeline, and Homura meets up with her master's body, who is still like sword plunged into the middle of the street, been there for 2 years, just there, present and waiting. And you like this picture right here. It's just absolutely like if you just saw this, I'd be like, damn, what happened to that robot chick? I think it was just that nice short story, but the fact it was set up like she was alive, but it was just on that last moment smile, and Homura just in tears, just breaking down from this unfortunate case. So this was, I think this is my favorite backstory so far in Eden Zero. Like obviously we don't have a lot, but this is a really good one because it's very short. Like really only need like 2 flashbacks, and there's not a whole lot of like stuff prior to going into it. You only need to know about Valkyrie, Aura. So it's good by itself, but obviously enhanced by the flow of the story, and just that intense like Warriors like last moment just shut down. Really sad. I feel bad for her. Like again, I had this entire idea plotted out in my head of what I thought was going to happen, where I thought everything was going to go down, and how I was predicting her character to go. And then I predicted some form of big self-sacrifice, but like I said, in a fight with Kurenai, and it would be a cool way to take both of them out, but also give like a really good for Amori's character if her indecisiveness led to the death of both her and her mother. But this at the same time is just, it's so sad, and it just really just kind of took Kurenai from being a bad person to legitimately just being like a complete and total two-faced bitch, and then easily corrupted. And I mentioned like there's the possibility that she's going to be nice to Homura because that is her daughter, but at the same time, it won't surprise me if she's just complete scum. Because the thing about it is like I've seen a like obvious comparison, because we already had like I said, Fairy Tail, we had a mother and a daughter opposing sides. But that layout, it was because Urza didn't see her mother as her mother. She saw the Gildersleeve family, and the closest thing she ever had to a parent was Makarov. And Irene, even though she talked about how much she hated Urza, those obviously ties up of if that was the case, there'd be questions, because how else was she got to Rosemary? How had Urza ended up as a baby on an entirely different continent somewhere in the world, at a church no less, like very safely, like I said. With Kurenai, Kurine doesn't seem trustworthy at all. She doesn't have any loyalty. She doesn't have anything laid out to make her seem like a good person. She has the full capabilities of knowing, knowing about Gamora, knowing about how to contact her, knowing about all these things relating to her. Like she literally met somebody that's saying, "Hey, I'll return you to your daughter," and she doesn't seem to care. She just seems like she's gonna come off more as scummy. She just has that aura to her, unlike like Irene was evil in a lot of ways, but didn't come off as irredeemable as Kurenai so far has, I would say. But other than that, like, tell me what you guys think about this chapter and what you thought about this. I thought this is really good. Like I said, I really like this moment going out of her, not like full on stoic, but that like I've won but I'm tired kind of moment. Sword in the ground on one knee, looking on like slowly down off and onward. That's good stuff. But other than that, I really appreciate you thumbs up the video, burn the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.